All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webcast on how to increase sales with geolocation. My name is Tyler Church, and I manage business development for Footprints. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope you find today's content valuable. A few logistics before we get started. We are using the GoToWebinar platform, and you'll notice a control panel on your screen where you can go and ask questions. So you'll just want to click on the down arrow next to the questions tab, type in your questions, and submit them to the panel. We do encourage you to ask questions as we go along, and we'll spend a few minutes at the end addressing those. Also, for those of you who are attending Dreamforce, it is right around the corner, October 13th through the 16th in San Francisco. Footprints, we will be exhibiting. Our booth number is N2330. Please stop by and say hello. We have a few goodies we're giving out. And we have a presentation session at Dreamforce on Monday, October 13th at 6:30 p.m. in the Cloud Expo Partner Theater. So we invite you to join us to that and learn a bit more about how geofencing technology can move the needle and drive better field performance. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's panel and have them say a few words about themselves. First, we're joined by Mike. Mike is a senior sales executive for an S&P 500 company. Mike, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Tyler. I'll make my comments as a commercial executive that has experience in running a business that generates a little over $1 billion in revenue and a field sales and marketing commercial team that has over 1,500 people worldwide.
Great, thanks, Mike. And we're also joined by Ron Gio. Ron is Director of Sales at Medtronic and a Footprints customer. Ron?
Hey, thanks a lot, Tyler. Ron Gio, I have 23 years in the medical device industry, including sales, marketing, and sales leadership. I've been with companies like Boston Scientific before they were even actually public, called Mansfield, and then we became Boston Scientific. A small startup called AVE that was acquired by Medtronic. Stayed with Medtronic almost 14 years in various roles, and where I first used Salesforce.com as a sales tool. I've been at St. Jude. Then I went to Visual Ace many months ago, a small company in the neuro space, brain tumor, and we were acquired by Medtronic 7 weeks ago. So currently, we are a Footprint user, although I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly.
Great, thanks, Ron. Appreciate your support. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Jonathan Friedman, Footprint CEO, who will be leading today's presentation. Jonathan?
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks to our panelists and everybody who's joined us today. Just a little background on myself. I used to do field sales for a large medical device company, but I have a background in technology, and by virtue of the smartphone technologies today, Footprints exist. So we'll get into the details of the technology in a bit, but first let me kind of go through our agenda. Today we're going to kind of start at the very high level, the 30,000 foot, briefly touching on why CRM solutions exist, why companies own them, and then talk about some of the problems that exist, the gaps that exist. We're going to touch on how world-class sales organizations succeed, and then we're going to kind of tie it all together and talk about how geofencing and the latest technologies can help solve some of these issues as we look ahead into the future of field sales going forward. So without further ado, let's talk about what I think most people recognize in terms of why companies make a decision to own CRM, customer relationship platforms such as Salesforce.com. It makes sense. They're a single repository. There's lots of data about how organizations have succeeded and increased effectiveness by having tools such as Salesforce. Salesforce.com has been innovative in its way. It's cloud-based delivery, but customer relationship management systems such as Siebel, Microsoft Dynamics, and many others have been around for a long time, with a promise of really ultimately helping increase sales. But as we look deeper into that, we also know that companies are trying to get more information about their customers in one place. Really what is called a 360-degree view of the customer, information about customer preferences, marketing information, details, technical details as relates to the accounts, looking ahead at forecasts and ways that we can improve or repeat success. And so these are how companies are using Salesforce. Of course, accountability is a big part of that. Getting more of the business planning side of things into Salesforce is ultimately a goal of a lot of companies. And today we'll kind of talk about how successful those things are. But ultimately, when you're a field rep, there's a reporting burden, right? So, some of the initial rollouts of technology, in many cases, there's quite a bit of pushback because reps want to go out there and sell. They don't want to sit around and fill out reports all day that they feel are not necessarily value added. At this point, I'm actually going to ask Ron, who's been exposed and worked with Salesforce in his experience both before and after footprints, to kind of reflect on some of those, maybe tell an anecdote or talk about how you have observed sales organization, your sales organization work with Salesforce, and I'd like to do that in the context of before the use of footprints, Ron.
Sure, thanks, Jonathan. I'll talk a little bit about Medtronic. At 14 years at Medtronic, some on the pacemaker side and then the coronary stent and the disposable device side, we never used Salesforce.com. Our customer data was purely whatever data the sales rep, he collected, gathered, and built on their own Excel spreadsheet, or mostly just kept in their phone. And at Medtronic Surgical Technologies, we did use Salesforce.com for our capital sale, for our sales funnel, and tracking that long sales process. However, we had very little information on our customers. After leaving Surgical Technologies, I went to St. Jude for a couple of years, and we did not use any Salesforce.com, any tracking at all, and had no data on customers. And then when I went to this little startup called Visualize, Salesforce.com was part of the sales organization. However, sales reps weren't using it. So our VP of sales and myself went and met with Jonathan through a referral, and we decided to implement implement footprints with our Salesforce.com, and did a beta for 2 of our regions. And the feedback was extremely positive, both from the managers and from the territory managers, because it was just intuitive. It was finally not a burden to have to go home after a long day in the field and boot up your computer and enter your Salesforce.com data. Footprints just makes it intuitive, either on the iPad or the iPhone. Once you hit an account, it reminds you you are in a hospital, you have a task to do or a data to enter, and I use it post, and most of our sales reps would use it after the sales call while in the hospital, entering whatever they did that day, their follow-up, who they spoke to, phone numbers, emails, what was to do.
That's great stuff, Ron. Thank you so much. You're helping me out here. Gosh, you're jumping ahead. So we are going to definitely tap into those comments in the second half of this presentation. But that's great to hear. So let me kind of continue talking a little bit about some of the other things I personally experienced, some of the things that Ron just talked about in terms of the realities of field organizations and the gap that exists with customer relationship management tools, which again have a great concept, they're widely adopted, but when you talk about the idiosyncrasies, the things that are special about field sales organizations, in many cases, and literally 100 out of 100 sales executives that I talk to will confirm that the user adoption of the reps to these tools and actually getting them to put information in is a struggle. And it's a struggle for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different, I guess, things come to bear, whether they don't have time, they don't have the ability to access it, they don't remember, they don't have their login, they don't see the value. So that's really what we're going to talk about in a moment when we start talking about how to solve this problem. But the second concept that I need to tee up for this to come together nicely is really to talk about how world-class sales organizations succeed. So let's step back from technology and CRM solutions for a moment here and talk about how good sales organizations and great sales organizations achieve success. And really the underlying idea here is you can't just hope that you're going to achieve your numbers. You can't just go out and try real hard. And so what I'd like to do is have Mike comment on, you have 2 decades of experience. You've carried the bag and you've worked your way through the management ranks to the executive ranks within sales organizations. Mike, could you please just reflect a little bit on some of your experiences with what it takes to succeed as a sales organization and as a sales team?
Well, thank you for those kind words, Jonathan, and you're absolutely right. Hope is a horrific strategy. First, I think most people on this webcast would agree that it all starts with having the right people in place, and then it quickly transitions to rigorous planning, and most importantly, ultimately lands on the ability to execute. We're very fortunate to have a bright group of people that do an exceptional job in setting a strategic plan that's designed to grow or protect our business. But even though you have the absolute best plan in place, that doesn't always guarantee success. Our ability to perform upon a really well-designed strategy revolves around people that know how to execute. Our most successful field representatives are absolutely laser focused on performing critical tasks that influence the business and drive results by closing deals.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nick. And that really is a perfect segue as we look at, just really a concept of how organizations succeed. And I think everybody's got their own techniques and so forth. I think the concept of getting things done is sort of widely understood. Me personally, I've read this book I'm a big fan of called Getting Things Done. There's many other books, but I think they all kind of are getting at the same thing, and that is to accomplish any goal, whether it's a personal goal, if a fitness goal, if it's a business goal, a sales goal, you have to have intermediate steps, right? That's logical. These steps, when you talk in the context of a sales team, a sales organization, are really called a sales business plan, a quarterly plan, or whatever that particular organization might call it. And then the individual steps are our tasks, and that makes sense. And so as we now start to transition into, how can you be accountable to those steps? How can we store those things? So if you look and say, we want to move the needle in this particular account. Well, what are we going to do there? Well, first of all, we need to engage with certain customers. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we have educational programs. We can invite them to them. And really just documenting those discrete steps, which are then going to eventually lead to the end goal. That's really what execution is all about, and that's how I think great sales teams do succeed. So with that concept in mind, now we're going to sort of kind of bring these things together, okay? So we've talked about why companies use CRM solutions, why they are a great tool for storing things and getting information in a faster way than was possible in the past. We talked about how reps are saddled with a lot of reporting asks from the organization. And we also talked about the special needs of sales organizations that are in the field. And then, of course, we've talked about how tasks are really how good sales organizations are able to achieve success. So now we're going to segue. We're going to segue and we're going to talk about footprints and specifically a footprints product called Glogger. And Glogger is a mobile application that is integrated into Salesforce.com. And the way it works is it uses new location technology called geofencing to trigger reminders to reps right when they walk into an account. So they literally come in proximity of a customer location, and their phone, their tablet, or even their smartwatch vibrates and indicates, hey, there's something for you to do here. And so if I was a rep today, maybe I walk into an account and my phone indicates that it's been 3 months since a customer at this account has placed an order, and I need to find out what's going on there. Or maybe my tablet has an alarm and there's a message indicating that one of the customers at that account has pre-registered for a conference that's coming up, that we have a breakfast breakout session, and I should invite that customer to that session to get good attendance and get some one-on-one time. Or maybe my smartwatch vibrates as I walk into an office and it lets me know that it's the customer's birthday, and I have a little bit of information. All these things together really provide powerful data to a rep right at the right time, right when they digest it, because if anybody's been close to a field organization or has done sales themselves, you know that you have to have this data teed up on a platter, okay? And to use that analogy a little bit further, a rep that's in the field or even an executive that's going out to visit accounts, they're not going to go back in the kitchen and cook themselves a meal. That data needs to be teed up on a platter in order for that representative, that person out in the field, to consume it. And that's really what this technology is about. It's about getting the information that we all know exists inside of an organization and teeing it up in a way at a time that is digestible for that customer. So really that's what happens with our technology. We've rolled it out, and really we've answered this question of, well, what if that information was just to pop right up when a rep walks in? And what if they get relevant information about what they need to do? Maybe it's strategic marketing data about the way customers in that account are focused and what specific messages are predicted to resonate with those customers. And then, of course, provide an incentive or at least a pat on the back to say, hey, you know what, great job. You know, you went in there, you put your stuff in, you're done. You know what, you can fill out your reports now as you're waiting for the elevator as you leave, rather than having to go home and spend your free time with a laptop, trying to get your reporting done. And of course, all that stuff is now top of mind, and so you're getting it in quickly. So in terms of the results that we see here, it's substantial. This is one team that has had an 18-fold increase in their usage of Salesforce compared to an entire year before in just 1 month. But most importantly, we've also seen that has led to net new sales. Okay, so this particular team has reported net additional sales with customers. Those customers are expected to make up 6% of their revenue for the quarter. Okay, and the ROI on our product is substantial when you look at it from those terms. So the other way to look at it is to look at time saved. We have another customer that's looking at how many hours per week can be saved in reporting time, because reps are able to get these things in quickly They don't have to search around for the accounts because it's all prompted. They can do it using voice recognition on their phone and get it done while they're waiting in line to pay for the parking garage or whatever little gaps of time exist during the day. And that means more time selling. So if you were to calculate it out with a field sales force of 200 reps, that's an additional full 10 employees if you say an average savings of 2 times a week. And this is an actual calculation that one of our customers did as part of their value proposition for implementing Footprints. Just a real quick snapshot on the technology and some of the things that are coming up with Footprints. Glogger, I mentioned, is our iPhone application. We also have a comprehensive, more of a full CRM solution that still is using that location-triggered technology, as well as the use of maps on an iPad tablet to display information, to display open tasks and accounts, so a rep can very quickly see which accounts are needing attention, and then drill into a lot of the forms and other custom aspects of the Salesforce tool that may be relevant. So I'm going to sort of summarize here, and as I do that, I actually would like to first, just thank everybody for joining, and then in closing, what I'd like to do is actually have Mike maybe give us some words on where you see, now that you've been exposed a bit to Footprints, where do you see technology and sales organizations going at a higher level?
Yes, Jonathan. I certainly feel that technology will continue to evolve and will separate companies' ability to execute successfully. As I had mentioned, execution is really key to performance. Delivering the right information at the right time will be even more meaningful in the future. Assuring that the critical tasks that are being checked off and completed are being done so in a desired manner is going to be really important. And tools like Footprints will allow existing resources like CRM software and smartphones to be utilized in a manner that will drive differentiation and more meaningful results. The playing field has changed. If a field organization functions in a manner today the same way they did 5 years ago, they are on their way to failure or delivering lackluster performance. We absolutely must adapt to the new environment and take advantage of automated technological advancements. That will be a big part of how we prioritize, think, act, and most importantly, deliver performance for our shareholders.
Great, thank you very much, Mike. So, Ron, I kind of, at the beginning of the call, you were really talking wonderful words, and I want you to go on and talk a little bit more about how you have seen Footprints deployed, and maybe, as we wrap up with a few minutes left, just, give some more detail with regards to how your team has embraced and used Footprints and seen an impact. Ron, are you on mute?
There you go. I believe I was just unmuted. So basically, it was just compliance. We went from not using our Salesforce.com tool to capturing all of our customer data, patient data, case data, HIPAA-compliant patient data, I'll add, case data, all follow-up and to-dos by using the Glogger app. And our Salesforce just commented over and over again that they finally had a tool that took away the burden of going home in the evening and spending an extra hour away from family or personal time entering Salesforce.com data. So it basically drove compliance, and the company was able to capture, and sales leadership and the executive team to capture the data we wanted.
Great. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jonathan. If there are no further questions, we're going to wrap things up here. And I just wanted to comment that, not only is Footprints, our apps, easy to use, but they're also easy to download and try. So if you have an iPad or if you have an iPhone and you also have a Salesforce account, I'd encourage you to go to the App Store. From your iPad, you'll want to look up Footprint CRM. From your iPhone, you'll want to look up Glogger. Download, connect it to your Salesforce account, and start receiving location notifications when you visit your accounts. So again, we hope to see you at Dreamforce coming up. We are at booth N2330. Please stop by our session Monday night at 6:30 in the Cloud Expo. And again, we appreciate your time today, and we hope you found this